Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. What's more epic than a pipe organ? The pipe organ, before the advent of synthesizers and amplified music, it was unquestionably the most sound a single person could make. The range of the pipe organ, wider than that of an orchestra. It's the go-to instrument in the giant, beautiful cathedrals of Europe. And with sometimes 3 or more manuals, as well as things to do with your feet, you could get an enormous amount of music going on. It was the main instrument of great composers like Bach and has a place in modern music as well. Just think about Interstellar. Well, I've got Millennium, the French organ, a new Kontakt instrument to look at today. And I'm just going to tell you, it is terrific. The best pipe organ I've ever played, flat out. And I also want to talk about my favorite epic chord trick. And it's one which I haven't really got a good name for. I'm curious to know if you guys can think of a way to describe this trick. We'll try a couple things. We've got a review folded into a tutorial today. There was a period of time when I never wanted to hear the word epic again, right? But I think there's a place for it because there's something about the broad, expansive, emotional power of epic chords and orchestration, which really continues to have an important place. Here's Streamtech's Millennium French Organ. And I don't know if you guys know how an organ works. I'll put a picture up. But basically, you've got this giant instrument that sends air into pipes. Depending on the length of the pipe, you'll get a different pitch. And a pipe organ is arranged in what they call ranks. So there'll be a whole set of pipes of the same timbre of differing lengths. And then a different set of pipes of a different timbre, all of differing lengths. You can combine them and stack them to get amazing effects. There are pipes that use like a flute type sound where it's like chiffing, kind of like a flute mouthpiece. And there are pipes that use reeds as well. By combining and layering those sounds, the pipe organ was really the first synthesizer, and you can get a huge variety of sounds. The Millennium French Organ presents us with a bunch of excellent places to begin by stacking all of these possible choices. And then down below gives us choices about like exactly what type of sort of organ vibe we're going for. And then we can set individual ranks in motion by highlighting them, clicking on them. Now, there are some classic organ sounds, aren't there? So I've just recorded a couple of little things using sounds that kind of evoke the spirit of those pieces. So here's a kind of a nice interstellar sound. The interstellar sound, a beautiful fluty patch. What I really admire about Millennium Organ is its gorgeous tuning. Sometimes these pipe organs aren't tuned well. This one is tuned so beautifully. You can hear the very high sounds and low sounds. Now, that was only a few ranks engaged. A grand organ, like for Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor, should have a bunch of things going all at once. You know this piece. The lowest notes on the pipe organ should shake the room. And then we'll pull out some of those horns, and we're left with a pure sound from the same piece of music. This is the fugue. A thinner texture allows you to hear the individual voices. The reverb on this instrument is awesome. And you've got great control over mic positions as well. I really couldn't be happier with this instrument. Let's take a look at it in a little more depth so that you can sort of see what's going on. Well, here's my sort of go-to organ sound. I prefer what we call a positive organ sound. The positive organ was a smaller size organ, actually designed for traveling. And as a result, it's a kind of a smaller, fluty tone. It's almost contemplative. In Millennium French Organ, you've got a lot of control. Now, one thing that you can see happening here is a little modulation in the swell or volume. As it happened, as I went to do my review today, my volume pedal crapped out. So I did something which anybody can do at home. I opened up a LFO and sent it to the mod wheel. You can see it's gradually, not very much, changing the volume of the sound just to give it a little bit of animation. I've done that with all of them. Over here on the right, you've got some beautiful mic positions. You can mix and match them to get really very powerful effects. Here, let's just turn on the outriggers. This will be a very different sound. We're kind of far away from the source, aren't we? Down below, you can see that these ranks are named by numbers. The typical sort of middle note in the organ is the 8-foot rank. And then a shorter rank, an octave up would be 4. An octave down would be 16. So right now I've got a low note, the bourdon, and if I take the bourdon to 8, I miss that bass note. And actually, this is the classic, in a way, positive organ sound designed for use with choirs or playing chorales, things like that. But that's by no means the only possibility. Because the Millennium organ has kind of sampled everything and spread it out, you've got sounds that can be quite horn-like or reed-like, so a trumpet almost sound. Imagine being an early 18th century keyboard player and being able to play an instrument which gives you reeds or trumpets or flutes and basses that would shake the room. What power! Bach, of course, was a great organ player. Well, this is a kind of a lovely reed sound. You can actually sort of hear the reeds in there, can't you? Let's talk about chords. Okay, so simply, here's a C chord. Listen to the fantastic tuning there. In this chord, in this C chord, the E is the major third. And the major third, or the third of any chord, plays a huge role in the quality of the chord. I'm going to take that note E and make it the third of a different chord. It's the major third of C, and now it's the minor third of C sharp minor. And that simple gesture changes things in a really interesting way. Listen to it in the context of, say, an arpeggio. So what I just did was I played a C major arpeggio followed by a C sharp minor arpeggio. C major, C sharp minor. It's calling it D flat minor here. I'd much rather call it C sharp minor. That way I have an E in both as opposed to an F flat. Nobody wants to call this F flat. Well, what's fascinating about this idea is you can kind of just live in those two worlds and create kind of a great energy, right? Here, let's do another one because, of course, this goes anywhere you'd like. Here's C minor. The third is E flat. Now I'm going to take that same E flat and I'm going to turn it in my mind into D sharp, and now I have a B major chord. Back to C minor. And we can go in opposite directions as well. For instance, what if I take a C major and go to its parallel minor, C minor? Now that note becomes the major third, and I'm at B major, and I go from B major to B minor, and then that note becomes the major third of B flat. Listen to how this sinks down. I'm going to do a very simple instrumental form to illustrate it. C, C minor, B major, B minor, B flat major, B flat minor, A major, I went I sort of modulated and traveled without ever using any dominant chords, without ever really creating any, tritone tensions, traveling around smoothly. Now I'm just going to join that idea with another idea, chromatic mediant relationships. We know that the E could be the major third of C or the minor third of C sharp, but really any note from the C chord, like the G, could be a major or minor third of another chord. So the C chord has a G in it, and that G could be the major third of E flat major. So here we go. C, E flat major. E flat major has a G in it, and it's going to become the minor third of E minor. That G is now the fifth of C. And I get this weird, kind of cool chord cycle. C minor, C major, E flat major, E minor. And the whole thing could start again. Or I could make this be the root of B major. And then this could be the third of G sharp minor, and then this could be the third of G major, etc., etc. This powerful tool, that is to say, repurposing notes within the first chord to become a different note in the next chord, to take that note and have it take on a different role. It's at the heart of what makes chromatic mediant modulation work, but it's most particularly interesting to me when I use a third that was minor and then I make it the major third of something else. And I don't think there's a name for that. It's a kind of interchange, right? It's a kind of transmutation. It's alchemical almost, right? Well, Millennium Organ, oh my goodness. It is just delightful to play. I just feel so happy to play. I have to say, I really think it's terrific. I wish my volume pedal was working, but it's not. I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe. Ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos. And do subscribe, please. It helps the channel so much. I'll see you next time.